Started out winning 3 of their first 4 games. They've done it the hard way again. The Eagles showing they're a different team this season. Another come from behind victory as they take down the Power.
Alrighty, hello, welcome to the CREEDCAST. It is a chilly little Tuesday here, Tuesday the 9th of September, 9:15 p.m. We're getting into it a little bit later because I've been covering at work for a few that are out with some health issues. So I am knackered, but very, very excited to get into a review with Jamie, as always. Unfortunately, a loss for your Yardapori Footy Club this weekend. This weekend just gone, but we will get to that in a moment. I've told Jamie off air I have some news for him. I'm not sure if he's aware of what I'm about to give him, but Jamie, our man DWAYNE Russell, is soon to be a published thriller author. Have you seen this news?
No, I haven't seen it, but I've heard about him being an author and writing a book. I believe Michelangelo Rucci and Kim Dillon were talking about it last week, actually, on
That's
SNSA.
fantastic.
Yeah, but apparently it's not his first book either. I don't know about that unless, yeah, I'm mistaken.
It's
Or he's done some writing before.
yeah. So it's being
Maybe
billed
not
as his debut novel. So it's a
Okay.
international espionage thriller called Killing for Sport. And here's the story. On the eve of their wedding, Jackson discovers something he can't forgive about his fiancée Sarah. As he tries to make himself disappear so that he won't be found by her and her violent family, he connects with international art dealer Sebastian Lee, who offers him an escape route, but at what cost? Gripping and unputdownable, Killing for Sport is a high-octane thriller set in the world of international organised crime from one of Australia's best-loved media personalities. Oh, I fucking love it. I am just so happy that DWAYNE, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to read it. And I'm like genuinely hoping it's great. And I'd like to be fair, you don't get this kind of deal coming from as a sports commentator. Maybe you get some, you're able to get some meetings because you're known, but you still have to write a decent, I assume a half decent book. Now there's a lot of these kind of books out there, but it says for fans of David Baldacci, Jeffrey Archer and Daniel Silva, Killing for Sport is the bold, pacey summer read you've been waiting for. So yeah, our man DWAYNE. I'm just DWAYNE, one of our favourites on the CREEDCAST. I know he's divisive, but you and I love what he brings to the game. I was certainly texting you about some of his commentary during the Freo Gold Coast game over the weekend.
Yeah.
Now he's turning his hand to writing thriller novels. It's just got like a classic. One of those classic covers that you're going to see in an airport kind of thing, which is I mean that in the most complimentary way. I know some people say airport novels are but shit. As someone who's gone through many, many airports in my life, looking for those kind of books is one of my favorite things, and I often find a good read that way. So, very, very excited. Are you excited for DWAYNE Russell, the published international espionage thriller author?
Yeah, I'm excited for him. Yeah, DWAYNE. I wonder if there's some subtle DWAYNEisms just embedded within the text. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued as to his writing chops. We all know how he fares as a commentator and a radio host. But hey, like you mentioned, if he's been published, then it can't be all that bad.
Absolutely. I mean, it even says
Kind of.
he says many of the themes of the novel are inspired by aspects of DWAYNE's own life, including his love of travel, his knowledge of the world of sports, and his wife's ice skating career. He has reflected on how his experience as a sports commentator has informed his fiction writing, saying that sports commentary must flow, keep the viewer interested to the end, and have elements like light and shade, in-depth explanation and pacing. It needs to be enjoyable to consume and yet occasionally hit people between the eyes. Kind of like yelling after Isaiah Dudley scores a goal on the weekend for Freo, yelling, they're going to have to flash their ID to get into the semi-final. That was me getting hit between the eyes during watching the men's footy on the weekend. So, um,
Yeah, his love for cow herding in Paraka also comes through when reading the novel.
Yes. Oh man, can you imagine if there's just a subtle like Paraka Bulls reference or like cow paddocks in the or Jeps Cross abattoirs reference in Killing for Sport? I might end up like the fucking GIF from like Jizz in My Pants, just like as I recall, it was a Dwayne Russell novel, and I jizzed in my pants. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, and an off the cuff intro to this episode. But I literally saw that news while I was in between getting home from work only 40 minutes ago and getting on recording with Jamie. I was like, I need to just get this out there with Jamie and about our love with Dwayne. Anyone that's been long time listeners of the podcast will know that Dwayne pops his head up regularly as our love for his commentary, but certainly had to talk about that news on the podcast. Let's get to the matter at hand, though. Your Yardapaldi Footy Club went over to face Waalitj Marawar in the West. Their fourth visit there in the last 4 seasons that we've been in the competition. Unfortunately, going down 10-4, 64 to 7-3, 45. A tight contest right to the end. Probably the 19-point margin doesn't kind of show the tight contest that it was, but unfortunately, something that we build as a great test and one that we had a decent amount of confidence going into, and in certain patches of the game, maybe saw a little bit of why we had that confidence. Overall, I think West Coast brought their A game in certain aspects. Probably were able to. They had more levers to pull within the game and maybe a little bit more endeavour and trust in each other around the ball, and ultimately got the job done.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see a lot of it live. So tuning in, or not tuning in, checking the score and the summary afterwards didn't make for good viewing. Particularly seemingly on face value, getting beaten by a little bit by what you know in the end. Like we discussed how the Eagles overran St Kilda after I think only kicking 1 goal for 3/4 or something like that against St Kilda. And unfortunately, we just didn't stick to the contest for long enough and inevitably got overrun in similar fashion. Now, I said to you pre-recording that I didn't realize there was such a gale force wind blowing to one end. So perhaps it wasn't just the last quarter that did it for them. Perhaps we didn't take advantage of the third quarter either, as much as we could have. From what I've seen, we fell into a bit of simpleton footy at times under pressure, and we didn't hold our nerve in certain situations and kind of regressed in terms of our gameplay and our disposal, decision making, and execution, which was obviously a little disappointing. We're under the pump a little bit as a club, but I was cock a hoop with how we looked going in, and obviously got that one a bit wrong. I would love to play this game again. Love a return leg. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But look, we can't, and the losses mount up. Funnily enough, we find ourselves at 1-3. We're in exactly the same place we were this time last year. In fact, we were actually 13th after 4 rounds last year, and we stay in 10th, amazingly. However, was it the Richmond game last year that we found ourselves 1-3? Perhaps it was around that time. To our fortune, we had a lot of winnable games after that point, where we're not afforded that same luxury now. Again, I'm probably looking a bit too far ahead. It is just interesting that we're in the same position we were last year, but completely different expectations. And we did beat this side last year in Perth. So pretty disappointing. Pragmatically, we've lost our 2 away games, which I think we've discussed both privately and on here. You can cop the away losses with the home fixtures that we have, but losing that first game to Freo, we need to balance the books a little bit, and we just didn't take that opportunity on Sunday when it was right there for us too.
Yeah. I was thinking about the Freo game a bit actually on the weekend because we got I think the first phase of the game was fairly even. I think, well, actually fairly even, but tipping towards West Coast. They were already kind of showing their hand in some of their maybe a bit more cleaner disposal and some of the disposal. I mean, the disposal efficiency numbers are quite horrible for us in this one. 48.3% versus their 58.5. So they're right around the season average. We cause our season average probably to drop a couple of percent. But 48.3 is just not good enough. And that efficiency inside 50 gets even worse, 37% versus their 54.5. And that was kind of like they were getting a little bit more of the ball in that first 10 minutes and first phase of play. And then their disposal efficiency was better. But then we got a couple of opportunities out the back when we kind of got actually some transition going, and we get out to a 3-goal, 19-0 lead towards the back end of the first quarter. It is funny. You mentioned not being able to watch it live. I couldn't watch it live either. I was working, and it was Father's Day, so I was and covering for some illness at my workplace. And watching the replay, this is why I always like to watch live and then watch a replay, because I get when my first watch is with a replay, I have preconceived notions about what I'm seeing based on the fact that I know the result already. And I was watching with like a little bit of negativity. I was like, this is why we're going to lose. This is why. You can see they're a little bit slow. And whereas if I was watching live, I probably would have had a different, I would have been like, oh, it's a battle. So I'm not exactly sure how to metabolize what I was seeing in that. But the stats were, I think they did flash up on Fox Sports that we were 13 or 14 disposals difference to West Coast in the first 10 minutes or so. So they were getting more of the ball. You could already see they were a little bit cleaner. And then there's a little bit more endeavour and option overlap for West Coast. Ella Roberts, though she started the game quietly, there was others doing, and then once they injected her into the middle, it's just like, why didn't you do that from the start? But I guess Ella Roberts is just so special that you can chuck her down forward to start with and see what happens, and then she's going to have her impact when you throw her in the middle whenever. But we did get the break, and I was thinking about the Freo game. I was like, watching the replay, I was like, this would have been so nice to be able to turn the tables on what we did against Freo when we gave up goals early. We got the goals early against West Coast, and like if I was watching live, I would have been thinking this is a great buffer already. Unfortunately, what it actually is a fucking complete mirror to last year when West Coast kicked out to a 20-0 lead on us, and then we came back and ran over the top late. It's Shakespearean in a way that we did. We got out to an almost, when you get out to a 19-point lead early in an AFLW game, now it is getting more and more common, like as the league improves, that teams can come back from that. But we should be looking to build on that. And it's very, very disappointing to me that we actually put ourselves in a very, very good position early, despite West Coast playing decent footy, and we just couldn't capitalize on that at all.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, I believe their first goal of the game came off of a turnover, if I remember correctly, and that
was
kind of
going
set
to
a
be
theme.
a next point of
Yeah,
because it was
set a theme. Well, we can move on to that. So it just kind of obviously foreshadowed a bit of a theme, and then the second quarter cancelled out a lot of that goodwill until we did kick a couple of goals in reply to go into halftime with somewhat of a decent enough lead. Against the wind in that second quarter as well. So, again, you mentioned preconceived notions and things like that. Yeah, if you're watching it live, you're probably pretty happy still at halftime, considering. It did look like they were more keen on providing overlap run and going in harder, looking for space. It was a little bit wet to start off with. So who knows if that aided in us falling into a trap of a straight lines type of football game. But unfortunately, we just allowed I don't know if too good a looks at goal is appropriate, but I feel like our defensive structure really broke down, and they either had players in space or, as we saw really late, just contests around like stoppage around their goal and allowed them a bit too easy enough run to kind of split a pack and run through, get over the back or whatnot.
Mm.
Yeah, obviously from what I've seen. But I agree with you. If we put ourselves in the position 3 goals up, considering how we performed the week before, you would be hoping to at least continue that momentum or not allow the door to swing back the other way,
Mm.
and to allow the Eagles back in the contest, really putting them to the sword. Potentially, yeah, like I said, knowing that they like to come late, which they have done for yeah, at least 2 weeks in a row now. We just didn't stay switched on for long enough, clearly.
Mm. Yeah, and there was a going back to that turnover that leads to their goal because I felt like when you watch the game and see that turnover happens, there's a moment that I looked at that and thought, geez, we could have gone in without letting them score. And it was disappointing. It's one of our favourites in Ebony O'Day, but she just, like, we're pushing forward and she just takes it and she has time with the ball and tries to go straight through the middle and just undercooks the kick. And it's just two Eagles, like, kind of like cut the pass off, like, see where it's going first, and they just run forward, and it's a goal because they've got, like, we're tipping the other way with our pressure, and
Yeah.
and they've cut it off and run forward, and it's just like there was a part of me, and I hate to, like, and I still we've got such an incredibly young side. There's still a lot of development to come, but there was a part of me when I saw that moment. I'm not a big fan of Dimmer in general as far as his some of his views on the world, but his grow the fuck up thing from last year with Gold Coast, it's just like that was one of those moments where I'm like, that is just, you've got to be fucking better than that. Like, read the game, understand where you are in the game. You've got yourself out to, in what you should be understanding is going to be a bit of a battle against a side that is playing pretty well against you, but you've got yourselves up to a 3-goal 1-0 lead, and there's a couple minutes to go in the quarter. It just felt like, I mean, and it's one of those, I do recognise, as I'm saying, and it's one of those ones where if you do get the kick right, then you're not even talking about it. But there is a part of it that we do know, our disposal efficiency is still something we're working on, and, maybe Ebony Day is not the best kick from centre half back coming inboard into the middle of the square. Just find an option, or at least make it go to a contest. And there is part of it also to defend her in that moment a little bit. There was a lot of times where we'd put kicks out and just no one was really creating contest enough. Like, they weren't reading it well enough. I don't know. Like, a lot of these kicks were floating up, and you just see, like, West Coast react to them better and cut off the kick or cut off the ground ball. And they were just getting into it quicker. And it's just like there was a quickness of mind that they were showing that we didn't have.
Yeah, yeah. I feel from what I've seen, I feel that players ahead of the ball were trying to create play, but unfortunately the ball carrier, say in the defensive half, yeah, whether it be rebounding outside of defensive 50 or again that center line scenario, West Coast pressure was fantastic,
Mm-hmm.
from the highlights that I've seen and the KO mini. And I feel that while players ahead of the ball were trying to create the play a little bit, or create options, I should say, the ball carrier then kind of turned and dump kicked it,
Mm-hmm.
but dump kicked it for, like, yeah. They weren't looking where they were kicking it. So yeah, in essence, what I'm trying to say is the people trying to create options are going one way, but because the person holding the ball isn't looking for an option on many occasions, just chucking it on the boot, the Eagles players in a defensive mindset are obviously watching the ball carrier still too. And I feel that helps with what you're saying, is when we did dump kick it blindly, they were quicker to react because they're not trying to create options and they're not trying to create space up the field to kick into and whatnot. Um, Again, another regression I felt. And as well as that, I noticed West Coast benefited maybe 2 or 3 times through way of scores. I know a couple of them were goals where under pressure in our defensive half, we kicked it to the center
Mm.
rather than down the line. And again, in a turnover situation and with your defensive structure already being a bit broken down and not at its best, you can pull through games when certain phases of the play aren't in perfect shape through some grit and determination. But turning it over in the middle, it's a harsh place to do that. And
Mm.
then, yeah, you're out of sorts, and the opposition have the ball in the best positions on the field, which didn't help us either. Whereas against lesser opponents, it must be said, in the Gold Coast last week, at least we were looking for options and looking to get the ball potentially over to the fat side or open side and looking to spread the field out that way where we got caught in a bit of a loop while under pressure and we didn't deal with that pressure well enough. But then alternatively, we didn't apply the pressure in kind. Lauren Arnell's post-match press conference, while it was very brief, through and she spoke through gritted teeth herself, pretty laboriously on the fact that like we didn't stick in the contest for long enough.
Yeah.
And she repeated that quite a few times. So I'd love to be a fly on the wall post-match. But we've got work to do if we're to turn around our win-loss, get that back on an even keel, and then push towards finals. Because while we have high expectations for the year, we understand that progress isn't always linear.
Hmm.
But it already feels like we're chasing the season. And again, funnily enough, like I said off the top, we're actually in a better ladder position than we were this time last year. However, it just, yeah, whether it's be through weight of expectation or otherwise, it just doesn't quite feel, something feels off. And potentially that's our injury list too.
Yeah.
You mentioned briefly just before that we do have quite a young side on the field. I don't know how it compares to West Coast, but it's a reality. It still doesn't take away from the lack of the pressure and contested work.
Yeah. It's an area. It's a game that sorely would have loved to have had a Kirsty Lamb and a Piper Window in there. I think.
I was only thinking that earlier today. Yeah, after and then watching Lauren Arnell's press conference last night, you go, yeah, Kirsty Lamb's hammy, and being one of our better um, contested possession players.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we look at the just to focus in on those numbers that kind of work with that pressure that you're talking about. Contested possessions 149 to 131, obviously in West Coast favour. Tackles were 92 to 75 in West Coast favour, which is to bring back a fucking storyline that we loved from the men's season. The disposals were plus 60 in West Coast favour too, 294 to 234. So as we say in footy, if you're losing a disposal count by 60, you should never be fucking losing a tackle count. But we did by 17, a significant margin there. So we just look slow and probably a heavy track, a track that obviously West Coast knew far better. Shit conditions. I can understand a little, but geez, we looked leggy and tired in the fit. There was one, I think, I can't remember. It was Ella Head's goal that floated over the top for the start, and for the first goal of the game, Houghton and Tahoe were in the goal square, kind of contesting for it, and then it just floated over the top and bounced through. And they're both hands on knees after that one, and that was halfway through the first quarter, and they looked really gassed. There was a point towards maybe the end of the first quarter as well. Chloe Gaunt looked fucking knackered, and it just we looked slower and less. And I'm not questioning the girls' fitness at all, but we just looked like we weren't dealing with the conditions nearly as well as a team like West Coast that had. And man, that's a selection thing maybe with the conditions. I mean, we touched on it in our preview or the squad show last week. I brought up the weather. I was like, yeah, it's looking like it could be fucking a little bit dicey. And weather, and this is again hindsight's 2020. I know that, and we kind of have, and we were talking about how we like the potential of like Gaunt being able to cover, a Gaunt switcheroo with Scholes a little bit, but Gaunt just wasn't able to find a way into the game with the way it was played, and ultimately it just left us a far slower team overall on the day. I think. I mean, they were a quicker team with some of their players and movers as well, and um, fuck, they were almost plus 50 with almost plus 60 with the handball. I think actually that is entirely where the disposal discrepancy comes from. They're plus 63 handballs, and then it's just we're plus 3 on kicks for the game. So it kicks basically even more or less, but the disposal of comes entirely from the fact that they had that, and that goes to the point that we kind of started off with, the overlap run. And that run that they had was just incredible. And with the efficiency they had, that was far better than ours. There's the game, along with the pressure.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, you mentioned fitness. If our high performance stuff are the same as the men's side, then maybe it isn't so surprising.
I was trying to be like,
Uh,
I was trying to just be like, I hope they're good, but like in the back of my mind, I was like, fuck. It just there's a lot of parallels, and I don't want to parallel stuff with men's, but we are the same club, so yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's it. The same club, and if it is the same high performance program, then there's a lot of reviewing going on right now, I'm sure. Well, and maybe at the end of the women's season, but yeah, and like these are some of the things that we went through on Friday when we recorded the preview, and we knew that West Coast were averaging more disposals, and then like you said, tackles, like, what the fuck is going on there? When the averages weren't, again, a lot of these statistics weren't too dissimilar
Mhm.
comparatively heading into the game, and then yeah, to lose tackle by 17 when you have your hands on the ball 60 possessions less, and then to lose contested possession by 18 when I think before this game we were averaging two more than them. Um, it's just not good enough, and yeah, potentially they're being spread thin, but I don't know, and maybe that's a symptom of the AFLW structure. You know, injuries, lack of backups, and your backups not having real match practice, which is an indictment on it, on the competition as well.
Mhm.
Um, Headspace, are we getting ahead of ourselves heading into games because of, thinking back to that Freo game, because of how we finished last year? Are we getting ahead of ourselves heading into that game? And then coming off the back of Gold Coast, are we getting ahead of ourselves coming into this game? I would desperately hope not, and I don't think Loz Arnell is definitely not coaching, wouldn't be coaching in that way, but
Mhm.
it does come down to an individual mindset, and which can permeate through a group of people. You mentioned efficiency inside 52 being so poor when it has actually been one of our strengths in terms of efficiency inside 50.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel it was again another similarity to that Freo game, our want for an inside 30, because I feel that
Yeah.
while inside 50s we won by two, I feel that a lot of times it was very shallow entries, therefore impacting our efficiency inside 50 percentage. And then getting their rebound game up and going from a decent position on the field. Um, Really, really want that stat from
Yes.
Champion Data,
Yeah.
because it honestly does put forward play into much more perspective.
Mm.
But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have access to that. So while inside 50s 35, and this is the thing. So we've got the ball enough, say at the center line in transition, to generate those inside 50s. But again, coming off of Freo, coming off of North Melbourne, it's that extra possession or two from the center to get it deep where
Mm.
your forwards can actually do their work. Um, yeah. So there's a few notes of regression out of this game. Um, and Melbourne coming up in red hot form. We want to be learning some lessons really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about just starting to talk about a little bit of that stuff out in the middle. I was really, this is a game, and I think Matilda Scholl was probably certainly not super unhappy with her game, but she certainly had probably a big battle on her hands in this one. And so
two genuine rucks
yeah, she also
to
dislocated
be
her
up
finger
against
early,
as well.
and
She
yes,
did. Yeah,
and,
first quarter apparently.
it was, and she watching the replay for she was she a hell of a grimace of pain when she realized she'd done it. It's very funny watching it in slow motion because you can kind of see when it happens, but then you can just see in slow motion when the signal goes from the pain receptors to the brain, and then the reaction comes. I always find that stuff fascinating. I don't know why, because it is just you kind of see the motions of the human body and how quick the signals are sent. But yeah, it took they were kind of the commentary was kind of keeping an eye on her as the game was progressing, and they were kind of saying it took a few goes to get it back in, and then obviously they strapped it back together, and she played a decent game after that. More to the point, like she obviously gets beaten on hitouts, and we get beaten on hitouts. Sorry for the game. Clearances from the center. West Coast were averaging 6 for the season, but got 12 in the game. We're averaging 9.5. We get 8 for the game, so we're close to our average. But they, to the point that we often make, they expanded on average. And we always talk about, like, when we go into a game, you see the stats that the teams are strong in and whatever. You try to minimize the damage in those areas they're good in and maximize where you can. They maximize a lot of areas where they're actually not that great in, and the center clearances in particular. Once they got Ella Roberts in there, but even then, it was just I found the midfield mix really. Stale. I don't know if stale is the right word. It's just like I'm starting to see. I mean, I think Dowrick had one of her probably lesser games for her entire career, which is sad to say, and like obviously expected to bounce back well. But
I mean, West Coast doing a job on her or what? Because that was one of the first things that jumped off the page to me.
I don't even know if it was a job on her. Maybe it was. I didn't. Again, I only got one replay in, and I didn't get to watch it live. So, and I was unfortunately watching the replay while I was working, doing quotations for those that are listening. So it was kind of hard. I got some dumb phone calls at work, like right while I was watching. I was so annoyed, and it's just like dumb, useless phone calls that I just don't want to deal with. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure they were doing a job on her. I just think it's we don't have the mix right, and watching how they work with Ella Roberts and how they can kind of change different levers. We don't have a true out and out kind of star in midfield. We have some great players and hopefully some to come through and be stars, but Dowrick's probably not an out and out star yet. She's very, very good at what she does, but because of the way we play, again, I look at the numbers, we just don't get players getting more than 18, 19 disposals. And when I look at West Coast, they've got 27 for Rowley. Roberts has got 24. There's another couple in the 22s, 24 numbers. When we played Gold Coast, they had a bunch up in the 20s, and we Scholes aside. And we did say in the preview, Scholes is kind of a unicorn in the fact that she can do a midfielder's role as well, and she did get the clearances and stuff like that. But I'm just intrigued as to kind of how you feel about the midfield group at the moment. And there is the injuries are a part of it, but I don't know if we're just I think we're trying to. And by the way, I love Ash Woodland's game. She was fucking Jade Gordon in this game. She played forward, she played defense, and she played in the midfield. She was a utility. She even
got a couple hit outs herself.
Yeah, yeah, no. Love Woodland's game, and she could potentially be that kind of star. But then we also do try to utilize her as a Swiss Army knife within this game because she took some defensive marks, had some really nice defensive efforts, and then kicked a goal and almost could have kicked another one, and then did some midfield work. But yeah, I think we're trying to we're trying to move a few and injuries are the reason we're trying so much. I think if we had a full complement, we'd be probably a little bit more stable and trying to settle in on something. But you could just see West Coast had so much more dynamism, and they had that Ella Roberts, her extraction work and her just contest in the middle to get some handballs out and get them. And she was directly a result for a few of their crucial centre clearances. And, the centre clearance game has been something that I've kind of been relatively comfortable with. And I would not have been expecting to lose it 12-8 to West Coast going into this game.
No, neither would I. Just a brief note on Ella Roberts from, again, the KO Mini that I watched. I feel like she got away with quite a few throws that benefited West Coast, to be honest. But that's just a gripe
we're
from a
also
loser.
Port fans that watch the Zach Butters craft week in, week out, so I can't get to.
Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah.
I only care about this game
Yeah.
and this opponent because we didn't win.
Mhm.
So this chaos theory in action right here, that was why. Yeah, look, when yeah, midfield mix. I have a feeling
Yeah, we've had
that
this discussion a lot this year,
they
haven't we?
yeah. Groundhog Day. They say that love won't pay the rent. Turn that alarm clock off, Bill Murray. Um,
Movie.
what? Yeah, very good movie. Channel 10 have ringed that movie to death. To be honest, though, Groundhog Day. But hey, look, yeah, it's good. So why not?
Bill Murray
Um,
could just sit on the toilet taking a fucking turd and I'd watch it. I love Bill Murray. That's so weird.
Bill fucking Murray. To reference a different movie.
Yeah.
You can tell we've lost. We don't want to talk about the football. But no, get back to the point that I was trying to make. I think heading into the season, they were prepared to put a lot of faith in Piper Window and her emergence off the back of last year's performance. She showed it in the preseason and the scratchies that you watched, and I think had the 6 clearances in that Fremantle game.
Yeah.
So you take that piece out, you take Kirsty Lamb, who's one of the better contested possession, better clearance players in our team. I think she's second best on average for clearances in our team so far heading into this game. So it does knock the midfield mix out,
Mm.
and then you're left, trying to pick up the pieces. I still don't think it's that bad in some regards, but it's clearly been exposed on a couple of occasions now. And I think it just came down to West Coast were more willing to run and support, but also their handball game was clearly much more clean, more quick with their hands, which just opened up play for them and allowed them to gain clearance. And then, in the AFLW, when you're winning clearance from the centre, you're getting some really, really good looks up forward. You don't have 6 to play against, you have 5. There's much more space. And I mean, that their first goal in the last quarter was basically like, it wasn't a centre clearance play. It ended up in a mark, but kicked it from bloody 60 meters and it just went over the top.
Yes, a couple of those in this game. We benefited from one of the Heads opening the scoring, but then they definitely got a couple of those in the end, and that's just the game, and certainly playing in that kind of weather. We have to acknowledge that the women do play in these kind of stadiums predominantly always, and are dealing with a lot more inclement weather than the men ever do. So that should be acknowledged, and it certainly was a factor. It is frustrating though, looking at this result and thinking. I mean, you mentioned before the fact that because I was really, it was so funny. Again, the preconceived notions watching a game. When I got to the end of the second quarter on the replay, I kind of started forgetting that I was watching a replay, and was like, "Oh, I'm proud of them. They withstood the second quarter challenge, and they've got themselves back up by 11 points at the half." I was like. And in my head, I was like, geez, that's a good way to go into the second half. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just remembering now that we end up losing anyway. It's really frustrating to see some of the...
I mean, yeah, it's right. I mean, for
the one challenge.
a half, 3 quarters, like, I think the biggest issue is that it just fell in a heap at the death.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mentioned at a point like it sounds very negative, and we're obviously disappointed because of a loss, and we're reading out the stats and some of the huge discrepancies, and I did mention before that sometimes you can just fight and scrap your way out of a contest away from home if you just stick to task. But I think it all comes down to the fact that, yeah, there was 1 point in it with 5 minutes to go, and then we just give up three pretty fucking easy goals,
Hmm.
which flatters them in the end. But they would probably say it caps off reward for their statistical dominance in a few areas. But
And just their endeavour.
yeah,
They
it, it
they they had the endeavour for the win at the end there. I think. Not to
mm,
say that we didn't want to win the game, but we tried to kind of manage it in that last quarter and try to see if we could find our way to kind of a Jose Mourinho style win, like, punch from the back and get one. Whereas, Daisy Pearce, and she got the kind of like a real good cheer from her crowd, and so she should for her coaching job. She kind of set her team up with some confidence and just like put the put the wheel in their hands and just said, "Go! You guys are driving this thing. I've kind of given you the tools. I'm trusting in you and your abilities to go and get this result." And kind of like they rose to the occasion, and we kind of shrunk just a little bit in the face of just their onslaught. And we tried to hold on, and with 5 minutes to go, if we'd gotten a break forward in one of those transitions that we got in the first quarter, that we just broke forward and got a goal against somewhat the run of play. If we'd gotten one of those ones, it would have made it tougher. It's just they got the breaking goal. It was one of those kind of next goal wins
mm.
moments and they got that goal instead. And it was partly because they were able to get the clearances and keep it in their forward half a fair bit as well. But um, and yeah, we
That's it. Yeah, they did play the conditions well in that last 5 minute period,
mm,
because we were under so much pressure, and they just franked it. They pushed up. They were relentless in trying to turn the ball over, and yeah, and we succumbed to that pressure. We went too simple with our disposal and our decision making, and they capitalized on it. Their last goal was from a stoppage situation 10 meters out from the front of goal, but it was the
mm,
fact that, like, who was it at the time? It was Isabella Lewis, I want to say. Yeah, she kicked the two
yeah,
goals. I'm pretty sure it was her.
she
She
kicked
just
two. She
ran
kicked
through
two
the
of the
middle
last
at
three.
will. It was a
And she,
pretty congested area, and yeah, and by that stage, I mean, there was what, 30 seconds to go in the game. Like, we weren't a realistic chance to win, but yeah, it just kind of typified some of the grievances that we have now,
mm,
in reflection. While it all, from a score point of view, does just come down to that last 5 minutes. And I think, yeah, again, to echo another sentiment from earlier, is that we clearly didn't capitalize in the third quarter. Our last chance to put some scoreboard pressure on, knowing that we had to play against the wind in the last. Um, Nearly fought our way to something, but in the end, yeah, it doesn't seem like that, because three quick goals, and yeah, you lose percentage, you don't get the 4 points, and you have to come home with your tail between your legs.
yeah, and it feels very much like it's what's frustrating about that, and it's gonna. I feel like the longer the season goes on, the more I'm going to look back at that. That Freo game was such a good opportunity to start the season well and kind of set a platform, and we kind of fought our way back into that one, and we're a chance to win late, and but we let Freo kind of get out the back and win late, and Freo ran the game out well there, and we kind of had a similar situation here, whereas we kind of we started this game well, but then West Coast got back into it and it was tight, and we just didn't play out the last 5-10 minutes well, and it's probably a question, and you mentioned Arnell's press conferences. She's probably a little bit frustrated because she doesn't have the team she wants at her disposal, and the messaging isn't getting through, and there's a little bit of probably frustration from her end. But it's just like we're just not managing the end of games well. Like obviously the Kangaroos game, there's no management to be done. The Gold Coast game, again, no management to be done. The two games that have been within play that we've played. Because halfway through the Freo last quarter, we were within a couple of points. I think 5 points. We were coming as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like that game was one we actually were kind of in the ascendancy until we let them out the back, and then this one, while
They got that free kick.
West Coast were doing probably the Lions' share of attacking. I actually think there was moments we had chances in the last quarter as well. Woodland kind of gets the ball and kind of half like hack kicks it and ends up in Gaunt's hand, and Gaunt had been a bit quicker with her feet, maybe could have got a kick away and a goal. Like there was a chance to score there that actually doesn't even end up in a point, but we were fucking 20 meters out from goal, and Woodland had the ball in hand. It was a surprising moment that she didn't actually just go for goal because she kicked one on the run earlier in the game. So we had moment, and it's just like we just haven't managed the last 5-10 minutes of the 2 games that we've had a chance in the closing stages. We haven't managed the end of the game well at all, and that's concerning to me.
Yeah, it's an issue that needs to be rectified, because I dare say that we'll find ourselves in similar positions as we go through the next couple of months with some of the opposition that we're coming up against. We do have the talent to provide a contest, but if it's a close game, then though these 2 examples that we're talking about need to ring true in their minds, and they need to learn what to do quickly, or else we'll keep lamenting a good effort for a couple of quarters, 3 quarters, but ultimately suffer a loss. It's a good we need to close out games better. And you mentioned DNA last week. We mentioned it in the preview show. It's just as simple as getting back to that from a pressure point of view, particularly with the Loz Arnell's attitude in her post-match presser. Just put the opposition under a little bit more pressure. Like, again, we're coming up against Melbourne, who average a shitload more disposals than we do. But I feel that like us jumping from an average of 230 disposals to 280 or 260 or 270 or whatnot that some other teams are doing, I don't feel like that's something you can just change in season.
No.
And I don't think you necessarily have to overpossess the ball, but it's just about being smarter and creating chains of play rather than dump kicking it when you're under pressure. And look, it's not to say that you can never dump kick it, because it's just those situations arise.
Yeah.
But in certain moments, it can't just be a habitual behavior anymore. We need to look for a handball to get out into space, but we also need to look for some marking targets, shifting our eyes instead of being so singular focused while under pressure.
Yeah, because there's some fascinating stats that come out of like the way the disposals work versus and disposal efficiency versus what the actual gameplay is. Because you look at I'm trying to find the stat also. Like meters gained in the game, West Coast had 4,491. We had 4,372. So you look at that and go, geez, that's pretty close. Like, but then disposal discrepancy 60. And it just means that there's quality. So the meters gained are very, very close. But then you just mentioned we're dump kicking and getting, 30 or 40 or whatever. Whereas they're handballing, finding an overlap run and then getting kicked to a target, getting it inside 50. And it's funny, the inside 50s, we won by 2 as well. And then the inside 30 stat would be an interesting one to your point from earlier. Champion data, get your fucking act together. But it's just fascinating read on different stats where you look at the meters gain and you go, that's marginal difference there. There's still plus 119. Fuck off. I just realized that. No, it's plus 119. Fuck off. Jamie and I have had this discussion off air. That number's everywhere. And I'm in a fucking David Lynch movie.
I'm sure our listeners face the same horrors. Yeah, see 19 everywhere.
But yeah, like the meters gained number is marginal, but it's the quality of meters gained. That's where the disposal efficiency number comes in. And to your point about just finding like the smartness with the football, finding targets, whether that be by hand, and that's where the disposal discrepancy came from almost entirely, was their 3 handballs then to a kick kind of thing that they would do. They'd gain possession, they'd handball, then there'd be an overlap run, and then they get a kick, and it would often go to a decent target or at least a decent contest where we'd dump kick to kind of an oncoming Eagles runner, or at least a contest that was favourable. Often they had an overload at those contested situations as well. Like there was always seemed to be an extra Eagle around a contest as well. They were just running harder for those situations as well.
Mm. Yeah, and these are the things that we have to prepare for. Again, because of how we finished last year, it's not going to come as easy to us this season, and opposition teams are going to go to work on how to shut us down. It's worked 3 out of 4 times for the opposition, but we do still have a season to play for, and we're going to have to scrap our way through the next couple of weeks, both from an opposition point of view, but also on the injury front. Like we still have to wait for some of those pieces to come back. The debut of Lauren Young continues to edge us even further, string us along, which we'll have to wait for. But
yeah, I feel for Shane.
What's done is done now.
I feel for Shane.
We go back home
as well.
Yeah, I mean, how cruel is that? Coming back and then getting injured, having to get surgery on, what was it, a hand?
The finger
injury?
I think it is. Yeah. I think it's actually listed as finger, so I assume she must have. Which I don't remember happening. I actually can't pinpoint where it happened, but she has to get surgery. I'm pretty sure on a finger,
fractured finger.
There you go. Yeah, which is very funny that we also had Scholes get like a dislocated finger in the game. Like just a real bad game for the Pinkies, I guess. I don't know. It's just and it's just like, fuck's sake, she comes back from an injury and then like breaks her finger, like, or fractures. But yeah, just the luck that evaded us in the men's season seems to have just filtered over into the women's season as well, because it's just like, yeah, it's very, very frustrating. Obviously I don't blame, like, you post your frustrations on the socials, but it's not the frustrations with the players themselves, it's just with the situation. Sometimes you just end up in these bad luck years as a football club, and we seem to have had it in both the men's and the women's comp. I know it's been almost an hour of recording, and it's a lot of kind of negativity and criticism. Hopefully, the people listening are finding it constructive, but it is just a lot of stuff out of the game that brings cause for concern. If you have anything else, Jamie, we can talk about it. If you've got anything else you want to bring up, otherwise we can get to some positivity. I think when we do the votes, there'll be some positivity to talk about. But then any other performances, like honourable mentions, we can mention a few things that we liked as well. Do you have anything else on the result overall, though?
No, look, yeah, said all I've could possibly say with the limited amount of vision that I have actually watched. So yeah, probably best to move on.
Yeah. Some positives to come, because there is like between the weeds of what's been a disappointing start to the year and certainly a disappointing result out of this one over in the West. There's certainly still some things to shine a light on. So let's play that sting and get to some votes and some talk about the positives. Now it's time for the CREEDCAST Player of the Year voting. So I get to go first on votes this week, and I'll leave honourable mentions until Jamie's got to his votes as well, because there's a few different things I would have liked to have rewarded in my votes. It's obviously a difficult week in votes when it's a loss, and you've got a disposal efficiency as a team that's under 50%. But yeah, there was a few little things from different players that I did enjoy in this game. But I'll get to my votes, get through them quickly, so then we can talk about it all. But in my one spot, I've got Molly Brooksby. she had 12 disposals. She had 4 tackles, 438 meters gained. She had 8 intercepts and 5 rebound 50s. I just thought, like, and some of her efforts, I mean, she's just still such a young player, and there's like a little bit of loading I give to that she just plays with a maturity beyond her years. And considering some of the mistakes made in this game, like she did certainly, I think everyone turned the ball over at times, so I'm not going to blame anyone too much individually. But I thought Brooksby, again, showed why we have such high stock in her. My 2 votes I gave to Maria Maloney, one of our experienced heads out there, and 14 disposals, 10 contested, 7 tackles. She had a couple of clearances, 265 gained. She had 2 marks, but she had the 9 intercepts as well. And she just was like laying the body on the line and in a few moments in the game that I just really, really enjoyed. And she kind of... she had a chance to kick a goal, I think. Was that in the last quarter? I think the point that we scored in the last quarter came spilling over the line.
Right on the line.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that breeze that you were talking about, probably if it was at the other end, it probably just gets through. So, yeah, sad that she couldn't get a goal on the day, but I thought I just really appreciated her effort in the game. She's one of those ones that's like in that midfield group at the moment, but she's playing her role. It's just we don't have that that star in there at the moment to complement the kind of work that a Maria Maloney can do. And
I don't think she can. Sorry, I don't think she can like explode from stoppage.
Exactly.
She's a grunt work player.
And you need those ones. But then you need the other one with them. So yeah, I don't blame Maloney for that area of the game so much. And to the point of that, I gave her 2 votes. My 3 votes I gave to Tegan Jermack. I love her work. She was one of the few players in this game that actually showed some legs and run and kind of endeavor to just to take the game on a little bit. And yeah, she's shown that across the season. Actually, I think we saw it in firsthand against the Gold Coast. She kind of just busting through tackles and girls trying to get a handful of jumper, and she just puts the power through the legs, and they have to let go. 15 disposals, 9 tackles, which led the team, 3 marks, 5 intercepts. Just loved her run at times, and really kind of love her progression from an injury replacement player last year to being a player that I think, regardless of our injury situation, is one of our starters at the moment, and she's really providing some great run. In my 4 votes, I got Matilda Scholes, and obviously a bit of a downturn from her epic efforts against Gold Coast last week, but she had the 17 disposals at 52.5%, I believe. 5 clearances, 21 hitouts, 312 gained, 11 of those contested because she's always getting double-digit contested possessions. And she only had a couple of turnovers as well, which I think in this game there's a premium on that as well. Didn't turn it over too much. She had a few kind of moments where she tried to take the game on through the middle, run and carry, run and kick the ball forward. She's starting to show, she's obviously got that in her, and she tried her best in this one, a tough one in the matchup she had in the ruck, but she still, I think, put forward a fairly good game. There's a few marks I would have liked to have seen her take. Like she kind of came back to, she kind of got beaten in a few contested situations, which was disappointing on replay. But it's also just, when the ball, I think it was symptomatic of the game a little bit as well. I still want her to just take command at those contested mark situations, but I'm not going to give her too much of a downturn on that. I still think she had a very good game. My 5 votes, Ash Woodland. 19 disposals, 7 clearances, 412 gained, 4 tackles, 13 contested. But it was some of the stuff, just the fact that she kicked the goal as well, but she was down. I'd mentioned it earlier. She was Chad Corns in this game. She was fucking playing forward. She was playing midfield. She was getting the clearances. She was down back. She had this desperate moment on the line where she kind of kept her defender. She kept between her defender and the goal line. And there was a moment that they talked about in the commentary a little bit, like Woodland could have maybe gone for the rush behind, but she didn't. She tried to tap it back to a teammate, and she actually did get it out, but it came back in pretty quickly. But it wasn't from Woodland's efforts. And then they had a little discussion about like, oh, players being worried about rushing behinds, and I was just like, it was just actually a great moment from Woodland. The fact that she kept between the opposing player and the goal line, tapped the ball back, and was able to get it kind of cleared for a moment, and then she took a great intercept mark late in the game as well. She was doing some great defensive work. Obviously, got the 7 clearances in the middle, or a middle end stoppage, and kicked the goal down forward as well. She was doing a bit of everything. When this team starts playing good football, has a good complement of, we have our mostly fit team together. When Woodland's playing in that team, I'm really excited to see what she can do, because she had an incredible game, I think, and underrated. Disposal efficiency isn't great because she's doing so much hard work, and again, it just wasn't a great game for the team. But I loved her game, and yeah, I'm glad to finally get into the 5 votes, because we've called her an unsung hero at times this year, but she really was.
Yeah.
A bit of unsung hero stuff about this one too, being the result it was, but I think she had a great game.
Yeah, agreed. Interesting. I've put Maloney as an honorable mention for me. So good that you got her in the votes. Obviously, yeah, agree with everything you said. A couple of people unlucky to miss out on mine. Yeah, obviously Maloney back to her contested ways. But my one vote actually goes to Indy Tahoe. At the end of the day, in a game of football, you need to get score on the board. And she led us for score involvements with 6. But as well as that, she had 11 disposals, 7 contested possessions, 3 intercepts. She went at 72.7%. So while it was only 11 disposals, at least she was carrying her load in a disposal efficiency point of view for 302 meters gain, 2 marks, and she obviously had the 2 goals to go along with her 5 inside 50s. So good game. Yeah, I'm not sure if she could have benefited us more from being swung. It's a topic I brought up on the previous show, but she's just imposing, and she uses the ball well. She has a good relationship with the football while in hand. And hey, we got the 2 goals from her, but yeah, not sure if she got lost in the grand scheme of things by being that forward target. When again, we weren't getting it in damaging enough positions to really put that on the board. But anyway,
she came up the ground.
My 2 votes goes to yeah.
Well,
Yeah. You got to get your crumbs somehow. So when there's hat kicks everywhere. But my 2 votes goes to Sachi Syme. Very similar sentiments to Tegan Jermack. Always looking to obviously intercept the ball because that's her role, like Tegan Jermack, but then trying to take the game on as well. Sachi had the 18 disposals, 11 of which were contested, 10 of which were intercepts. 363 meters gained. She had 3 score involvements herself, 4 1%ers. It is a feature of her game too this season, and we've seen it on multiple occasions now. Obviously, having to mop up a lot, but also trying to get the ball moving in a moving forward with some dynamism. Also made it into the coaches' votes as well, I noticed. My 3 votes, Tegan Jermack as well. You had her at 3, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, which means that 3, 4, and 5 are all the same. Schultz at 4 and Ash Woodland at 5. So yeah, we were hoping for her to have her moment in the spotlight, and yeah, look, we got one of our wishes out of this game at least.
Yeah, I had Simon in my votes at one point, and Indy was in my honorable mentions as well. It's just it was a real tough one for trying to reward different things, because there was a lot of grunt work from some of those girls. I mean, a shout out to again the reason I'd love to, like, Shanae Goody had an 84.6% disposal efficiency, but
yeah, I know
my frustration with like
on?
Shanae's game, and it's not with Shanae herself, it's just like how a game plan, like, I want her minimum 15, 16 disposals a game, minimum. Like, we need her hand
minimum
in the footy more, because she's one of our best ball users. Like, we love her kick.
If I couldn't agree more. If you're getting Dowrick with 15 to 20 and Goody with 15 to 20, I feel like our fortunes are a lot more favorable
Yeah.
out of this game. But they have Goody with 13 and yeah, we mentioned Dowrick before with was it 11? Yeah, 11. So
hmm And the Derek's
that's the
11 were
type
at
of things.
18.2% disposal efficiency.
Yeah,
Um,
I
but
know. That's just look, perhaps she's sick. I don't know because that is very uncharacteristic
mm,
of Abby Jarrett since day one.
yeah.
Like I don't know. Did you say before probably the worst game she's played for Port Adelaide?
I think it's one of the worst games she's played for us. Yeah.
I
She's set a
can't
high
imagine her
standard. So
playing worse. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm astounded at how that is eventuated. And we talked about midfield mix before. I mean, it just goes to show, like, our mix isn't that bad, but how is Goody and Derek ending the game with 24 disposals between the two of them?
yeah. Ella Roberts
We
had those
need to get
numbers
the ball
herself.
in these pe
Like that's kind of that's where
Exactly,
we're at.
exactly.
We've got players that we love, in like Derek was our player of the year for us last year. Goody's one of the best young players in the league and has an incredible eye for the games, understanding of the game awareness, and a good kick. And like we're not being able to get them to have more than yeah. We're just not getting the ball in the hands of like we just. I don't think we've had
Particularly Goody.
yeah
Like Derek's game hopefully
different
was
game.
a aberration.
Hmm
And yeah, she was down from her usual 5 votes last week to I think I had her in three. I
Yeah.
can't remember where you had her. But yeah, just that needs to be rectified.
hmm
Those guys need to be getting into the game much more.
Yeah. Um, I liked a bit of what Ella Heads did in the game as well. She again showed just such good disposal. Like the way her touch on her kicks, and her ability to do that, like in motion. I'm really appreciating the more and more I watch her. She just has a great touch on her kicks. I love it.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, one of our better um, disposal players to spit that out. But
Yeah,
as well, another aspect of her game that we spoke about on the preview show, 5 marks, 4 tackles. So it's some of these key aspects that we kind of focus on and put a premium on. Yeah, she's just got a good balance to how she plays
mm,
Australian rules football in the AFLW.
yeah. Um, I guess that's when you look at it across. I said we were going to be positive. It is like the positive thing is that you look at Derek at 11 disposals and Goody at 13, Ella Heads at 10, and like look at some of those players we really like and think about like if we can get the ball in their hands more, and like there's so much room for improvement in a game that we lost to West Coast by just 19 points away from home in shite conditions. Like there's a lot of but it's just like you do, again, to go back to kind of a point I made earlier. I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's just like at some point when the penny's got to drop. And I didn't expect, like, I think we talked about this at the start of the year too. We understood this year was going to potentially be just a mini plateau in the growth of this team because we kind of fucking shot to the, kind of Icarus, going very close to the sun last year and making a prelim that wasn't expected. And as such, because of the way the AFLW works, we get a schedule that is weighted a little bit more difficult for a side that probably still isn't. What we weren't a prelim final side last year. We just had some magical results to get us there, and that Hawthorn game was still. I
Mm.
fucking need to go back and rewatch that one for some
And-
fun.
But it was based on aspects that were severely lacking in this game in particular.
Yes,
We
yeah,
got to a prelim through effort, determination, and just a penchant to keep going, never giving in. And I mean, yeah, we just need to play 5 or so minutes more contested football.
yeah.
And the result, hey, look, we may still lose this game, but um, it's not by 20 odd points, is it?
Mm.
Just need to play that extra extra 5 to potentially 10 minutes in the Frio game in particular.
Mm.
Just stay switched on, stay in the contest, never give in because yeah, that's what helped us go on that run last year. When I agree, and if you're plateauing from a prelim final, then considering where the team is at and their age profile, like yeah, you understand that you can't shoot through the ceiling, particularly when, in all honesty, it's a race for second in this fucking competition. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, you understand that progress isn't linear. Um, you're just hoping for a bit better representation in certain aspects of the game and this game in particular. Yeah, yeah, we dropped down a few rungs in that regard.
Yeah.
But there's there's scope for improvement. Um, and I look forward to previewing the next game.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can touch on that quickly. We'll obviously do our squad show later in the week properly on our next upcoming match, 2:35 p.m. this Saturday at Alberton. Port Adelaide are taking on Melbourne. So it doesn't get much easier because Melbourne's sitting in second with 4 wins and a very, very healthy percentage. The betting odds are 440 for Port Adelaide, 120 for Melbourne, so a decent gap there. It's a significant test. Obviously, we found out today Cheyenne Hammond's out 3 to 5 weeks with a finger injury. Lauren Young, who we were just like starting to hope might be coming towards a debut, and certainly with the injuries, we were thinking, yeah, if she's fit, she's going to debut. She's in concussion protocols. I don't even know why she's in concussion protocols. I assume it was a training thing because she hasn't played any footy, so can only assume that was training. But yeah,
Yeah, well, so
unless you've heard
I
anything. Yeah.
Easter egged a little comment about our backup players not playing like games of football when they're not
Yeah.
selected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I listened to the AFLW weekly podcast with Sarah Burt and Georgie Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was one of Georgie Parker brought it up as one of her gripes to the competition, and there's no solution to it
That's
because,
fair. A very fair
um,
point too.
uh, yeah, so people who aren't selected to play on the weekend have to play scratch matches and sorry, scrimmages.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like 6 on 6 or 9 versus 9, and having to fly interstate potentially to a different state to where you're playing,
Yeah.
sorry, where your team's playing to play scratchies with and against players from other sides. So yeah, the concussion is peculiar because there is no second tier competition running at the moment. But so yeah, you can deduce that it's either from a training mishap, which you would hope that's not the case, or one of these scrimmages. And yeah, hypothetically, if there was a reserves competition, that can still happen. It's just shit because as Port Adelaide fans, we're so desperate to see her play.
Hmm.
And I feel that every week longer, like the pedestal is just like even higher as
Yeah.
well. Like she's going to come in, and Port Adelaide fans are going to expect her to just totally flip our fortunes. When that's a lot of
Oh, but
pressure
no, by the time
for
she
a young
comes,
woman to
by the
have.
time she actually plays, she's going to be Jesus fucking arising and then on the third day, like fucking pushing that boulder
Yeah,
aside, and it's going to be fucking Lauren Young.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Oh, we
not
all
that
have
I'm
high
putting that
hopes,
on
but
her, but that's just I understand how fans work. Like, um, look,
mm,
I can't wait to see her play, and I'm very, very excited. It's just, and it's not her fault. Like, she's just had a wretched run. It's just one of those things that as a fan, you sit there, and that's the thing. The selfish thing that we do as fans is we sit here. You know, I'm sitting here in my like fucking teal lit studio that I've put in the office with a beer in hand, going, "Fuck, I want Lauren Young to play," and you can only imagine how she's feeling. Just fucking, you know, she's itching to get her AFL debut. Highly
mm.
touted. She's, you know, she's keen to play. Yeah, no, very much, you know, um, feel for her, but and she'll be playing footy real soon. She's, you know, concussion's a separate thing, and I assume it's hopefully it's just one of those. Not there is a spectrum of concussion. If it's just like a concussion, like, you know, it's not like one of those heavy ones. It's just one of those ones that she's in protocols because she's had some symptoms, and yeah, but we don't know much more, so I won't speculate on it. That's what I'm just hoping myself is that it's just one of those little ones that had a little bit of a rattle, but and not to diminish concussions as an issue because it is a very serious issue, but there is, you know, you can either get your fucking bell completely rung that like the Sidney Crosby out for 2 years kind of thing, and for the Pittsburgh Penguins years ago, or you can have those ones that just hopefully is just the week off and back to it and no further issues.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, when I saw it, that's kind of where my mind was at. You know, hopefully it's on the lower end of the spectrum and she can finally debut. I think that would be against Geelong. So, but we'll wait and see.
We will.
Definitely not putting the cart before that horse because, yeah.
At this point, no.
Both with her in particular, her misfortune and the team's misfortune through injury, fucking anything could bloody happen.
Yeah. I do believe that hopefully we'll have Kirsty Liam available for this week, though, based on what I saw on the injury report, which will be, as we've just talked about for an hour on the review of the West Coast game, sorely fucking needed. So, yeah.
And just going through, while Melbourne may be second on the ladder,
soft schedule.
Perhaps we may be more in the contest than it would appear on paper. Much like we discussed heading into the game against West Coast. Just quickly, Melbourne's opponents are 12th, 13th, 14th, and 17th that they've played. So again, we'll discuss this in a bit more depth once selections have been made later in the week. But another game to look forward to in the W season, another home game to look forward to.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, can't wait. I'm not sure if I'll be down there yet due to, as I have alluded to, some health issues in my workplace, and I'm covering for a few people at the moment. And I manage a business that has, it's a hospitality stuff. So obviously hospitality hours. And usually I get port games off, but it's covering for a few people. And possibly if I'm not there on Saturday, the only option is for the place to close. So I'm helping out some family that are battling some health issues at the moment. So I'm hoping to be there, but it just depends how the next few days go. But when I bought my sister tickets for the opening match that we went to together against Freo, I randomly have like a guest, like a 2-game pass like in my account. So what I want to say on the podcast, if anyone's listening tonight and wants to go to the game and doesn't have a membership, I obviously encourage you to get a membership. But I have a couple of tickets available because I know if I do end up being able to go, I still have a way to get in without having to pay any money. So because I've got that random 2-game pass that buying tickets for my sister got me, like, you know how they add those things in if you want them for like I think it was like a couple of dollars more, and it was like get yourself a 2-game pass. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll throw that in, you know, for at some point in the season.
I think they're doing a double pass deal for the Melbourne game.
Yeah, they are doing
buy
one get buy one get two kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah,
I think it's like buy one ticket,
like buy one get one free, or something
two
like
for
that.
one, something like that. Yeah, whatever, however you want to phrase it, you can. But if anyone's listening and wants to, you know, my ticket to just general admission is not anything special, obviously. But if anyone is listening and wants a couple of tickets and doesn't want to pay a dime and doesn't already have tickets, reach out on Twitter and Instagram. I'll probably post later in the week if I need to get rid of them still. And like I said, if I manage to be able to go, I'll have a way to get in it either way. So, if you're listening, reach out. I'll fling you a couple of tickets to get down there because I want to encourage as many people to get down there as possible, and hoping I can get there. But it's a very fluid situation with what my family's got going on health-wise at the moment. So, that's about it, Jamie. I'm looking forward to discussing it when we get to the squad show later in the week. It's an intriguing matchup once again. Like I said, the betting odds are quite long. But to your point that you just made, Melbourne have had a very, very a more soft. I don't ever want to say anyone's got a soft schedule, but when we've played the Kangaroos and West Coast, who are both two decent sides sitting in the top. Well, Kangaroos obviously. The juggernaut they are at the moment, but West Coast sitting comfortably in the top 8 at the moment as well. There's reasons for you bringing that up, that just a part of the AFLW landscape at the moment.
Looking forward to it. I'll see everyone then.
Yeah, no worries. We will see you then, and
Kind of pair.
go on the lady bit.